going to redo my entire video because I completely forgot my mic was connected to my USB keyboard that I had in here. So I'm just going to talk over this here. And so welcome to Legend of Mana, take 2 of part 1. This is a very different opening from the PS1 version. Legend of Mana is a game that is near and dear to my heart. A huge influence on me, and it's a game that I've never stopped playing. I always come back to it for some reason, and I actually had been playing the PS1 version for a guide run, which I'm going to be more or less recreating here. So I'm going to say that I am really disappointed in myself because I spent an hour on the last video without realizing that effectively my mic was off, so that was all just completely wasted. So to get a few things out of the way, I do have a Ring Land guide that I made, because I do have an imported Pocket Station, and I decided to apply a hack to the US version so that I could actually have it integrated and really use it. They made changes, so this actually has its own less extensive guide in the help. But once I get far enough where I actually can get a pet and do this stuff in here and show this stuff off, I will link my guide. And hopefully by then ManaWiki will have a good place for it. So, unfortunately, ManaWiki is a little bit of a mess when it comes to Legend of Mana. The admin there is actually somebody who I just missed from my greatest activity on Final Fantasy Wiki. And so I'm still an admin there, I'm just not really active as much, and so he actually took over ManaWiki because it had been abandoned. And Legend of Mana, despite being a fantastic game, is very different from most of the rest of the Mana series, and so it's kind of a black sheep. And so the wiki has just so much of everything that isn't Legend of Mana, and they were just kind of going through and trying to get everything together they could. So really, if this effectively a guide run, helps with anything, and somebody wants to do that legwork, ManaWiki could really use it. Like I said, good people just had this sprung on them, really, when it was announced that it was coming out as a remake. They really tried to get everything together they could, and so I felt like making the Ring Land guide was really a good part of that. Although I didn't get to do a whole lot else with them, just because of my own personal time constraints. So as a little life update, I'm on a different schedule at work now, and so I'm not going to be really streaming late into the night like I used to, just because I don't have to watch the system anymore. So it's one of those things that I am at the same job, things are going well. I actually just had my annual review and it was really good. So, I won't say that that's necessarily relevant to this, but it does change my gaming habits a lot, and I will say that because my viewership is generally so low, like I got one person in the last session who came and went, and probably just, if I had been actually able to convey my commentary, maybe they would have stayed, but I don't get a whole lot of viewership, and so I really was doing this streaming stuff more or less for myself, almost as like a parasocial thing, and after a while it was just like I wasn't getting anything out of it, and it felt like too much pressure and just wasn't fun. And so I stopped, because I figured if I wasn't going to be able to share anything with anyone, that I would just do things for myself. And when it comes to Legend of Mana, because it is something that I'm relatively familiar with, like I said, I mean, I'm not like a world-class expert or anything, but I have played it for quite a while. It's just something that I wanted to share just because it has hit so recently, and because I can share a little something. So there are resources out there that aren't ManaWiki. I'm going to be doing a guide run that I think is called Around the Tree Again. That's what I always remember it as. But it will unlock everything. So, like, all events, all everything. So instead of doing a load here like I was thinking, I am going to just do a new game here. And we're just gonna do English, and I'm going to go with the sword. Now, the reason for that is weapons generally play pretty differently. But they also play the same. So you see that there's like a whole bunch of weapons available in here. Now, they all have their own ranges and attack powers and stat boosts. And so, even though I generally go with staff, just because staff and spear have very similar... They've got the same animations, essentially, so it's really easy to go from one to the other. And staff is just one of those things that I like magic, and it actually, in the PS1 version, using a staff slightly changes and enhances the magic animations. It doesn't do anything other than that, other than, you know, your magic boosts when you level up, but it's just one of those little touches that this game is so full of, really. But staff is not good for your non-magical stats, and so even though it's got probably these two weapons have my favorite range in the game. I love them. They've got a good number of hits. They've got a good range with their hits. They're one of the few things that will actually hit above and below you in the 2.5D battle system. It's just... I'm doing something a little different. And so... we're gonna go with our one-handed sword here. I am going to show there are just some names in here. I'm going to go with Valkyrie here since it came up. In the last one I commented that Hawkeye and Loki actually are names in here, and that's not something new. That was in the PS1 version. You actually have a couple of comic references because one of the default female names is actually Mary Jane. So that gets really interesting when you actually go into the game because you'll see when we get to Luon Highway here in a bit, maybe in an actual part 2. That there's a place where it's Your Name Canyon, and that makes for Mary Jane Canyon, and in the PS1 version, that's a little funny because it has some leafy plants in there. Obviously nothing like actually, but so this is actually a bigger graphic than usual, and it's one of those things where I was commenting on this. You can see they redid the mana spirits here. So in order from left to right, you've got Wisp, Shade, Dryad, Aura, Salamander, Gnome, Jinn, and Undine. And for those who are a little geeky about classical literature, those last four are kind of, sort of, the four elemental spirits for Earth, Fire, Wind, and Water that you have from Europe. Although, really, Jinn, if they were going to be accurate about it, should have been Silph Zephyr, which is not what they went with, and I don't know why. So it's kind of. Wisp, obviously based on Will-O-Wisps, and Shade is this guy next to it who's got the slit pupil glowing eye and the jewel on his forehead. Kind of looks like a dragon bat thing. Dryad, of course, that comes from your Greek mythology. And Aura is unique in Legend of Mana because in most games she's actually Luna for the moon to serve that role. But in this one, they actually wanted, instead of being the moon, her element is actually metal or gold. I forget which. It's really based more on Chinese elementalism to be more of an opposite to Dryad as wood. And so I'm going to place this right here. And I'm going to try not to cry, which is ridiculous because I literally just went through this. But there are a few things in games that make me, few things that make me cry, and especially in games, and this is one of them, so... Sorry for the throat clearing there. It's just, I was, oh, just ate something, so. And I managed to limit myself to one manly tear for that dang mailbox. I don't know what it is, but seeing that mailbox just in the tornado always gets me for some ridiculous reason. So that song is in like Swedish or something, and more or less actually the lyrics, if translated, cover the story. So what you were seeing there is the mammoth tree kind of burned there. And that didn't do good things for the world. So that's going to be kind of covered here. So feel free to pause if this is going too fast, and really for any of the dialogue in the game. I'm really familiar with it all, so I'm probably just gonna kind of blaze through some of it, maybe a little bit here. I'll try to be respectful and not make you have to have, like, lightning reflexes, but there's no voice acting, and as much as I, consider myself a voice actor for my own projects, I really don't feel like being a storybook reader for this. So just to condense some of my thoughts from the last unsuccessful recording of this, the backgrounds in this game are gorgeous. It was always hand-painted, and it was always really beautiful. Even on the PS1, it was great. It was everything it needed to be for a CRT screen, and it was really a very pretty game with really pretty music, and that hasn't changed. They've reorchestrated it. The old music actually is an option, which I'm glad that Square is actually doing that consistently now. But I really wish they had done something with the sprites. And it's like you can see this leaf over here, which is Lil Cactus's journal, is a sprite. Like, it always was a sprite, but it didn't always used to be so obvious. That's something that I didn't realize was even a sprite until I threw this in an emulator when I was, just doing things with it. Playing in an emulator with the disc, it was kind of ridiculous. But yeah, as a sprite artist myself, a pixel artist, and especially when it comes to sprites, I understand what goes into this stuff, and I really, really, really wish that they had, oop, that's my housemate. Hello. Hey, you need a ride? I did not. Sure. Okay. See you then. Bye. Okay, I don't have to drop it right now. I've got some time. So... Another life update. It's not like I haven't had housemates the entire time. I still have one, so... I understand what goes into making a sprite. I understand what goes into making a good sprite. And I really wish they had done more with the sprites in this. Like, so much of this game actually looks like it was on the PS1, which to me is a little disappointing, because I understand the amount of effort that goes into that. And I mean, when it comes to these backgrounds, they're gorgeous. They were always hand-painted. And, it's just one of those things where they're still that way, but I feel like it could have been more. So we've got this chest that's going to disappear. This is nothing back here. One of the wonderful details of this game is that there's all of these bathrooms you can't go into. So, like, I assume this is a kitchen just because it's got the fish on the door frame. But there's nothing there. You can't do anything with it. This, however, is what I always thought of as the library, but apparently they're calling it the study. And I don't remember if that's actually what they always called it, or if that's just what they're calling it now. Whereas, when you actually look at it, it really is a study. It's got a desk, it's cozier than a huge library, it's got these books over here, which you can still do that with. But yeah, I just, really wish, with all of the good work they did on the backgrounds, and the portraits, and, really the opening, like this sign right here, this home sign that looks like it was just carved out with a knife, that's amazing. I love that. But then you've got all of these chunky pixel dudes, you know, around, and some people see that as a nostalgic thing, but I think that that's kind of for me, because unless there was a technical reason where they needed to keep it that way for screen positioning or something like that, which I don't think it would have been, because then they would have had to render it completely different, like, everything. So, I mean, when we're looking at the sprites in here, they're probably just doing a quick multiply on them or something like that. Not the end of the world. But it's just one of those things where I understand what it would have taken from experience to, like, double the size of the sprites, or do whatever and do, you know, whatever pixels you needed to just get rid of all of the jagged edges. So I'm just going to kind of comment on some of this stuff here. You can't really go up here. This is the only time in the game, really, before you get a pet, that you're actually able to walk around in here. I don't know if that gigantic... What is that, a behemoth head? I just realized that might legitimately be a behemoth head. I don't know if that was always in here or what. I would have to look at the PS1 game to honestly see. Mana is interesting because it actually started out as basically a spin-off of Final Fantasy, and so you've got a lot of those wonderful references in here. But yeah, the music, they obviously did things with the music. Some of it I kind of don't like, to be quite honest. I'm going to show you in here. So this is going to be our workshops. And this is really shrill and tinny. I don't like this. And in my first one, I was like, what did they do? Did they redo this whole thing? At the point I'm at in my PS1 file, I have all 3 workshops, so I'm like, I could have sworn, though, that it looked like there was maybe something more going on here that wasn't, like, trees and stuff in here, that it looked a little bit more like it was built out. I'd have to compare, though. But yeah, we've got a well here and all that kind of stuff, and just... It looks really nice in here. I like it. But that music is just wow, you know? Down over here, we're going to have our backyard orchard. That's going to become important later. And just to show some of the details in this game, there's no reason for this to be walkable, but it is. It's little touches like that that really make this game. That you've got stuff that wasn't really necessary, and they did it anyway. So... for everybody's benefit, I'm gonna just choose no, I didn't. Again, I'm not gonna narrate this. Oh, now there's a detail I didn't even realize. So they're actually spelling out artifacts now instead of using the abbreviation AF. That's interesting. So there are minor text differences in this game from the original, and for me it's really interesting because having, again, been so familiar with the original, it really is kind of a trip for me because it's like, was it always like that? And it's like, no, this is what they actually said here. So just to explain some of the interface going on here, what you've got in the upper right is the growth of the mana tree. That's basically your progress through the story of the game. The line of spirits down there, you can see some of them have some segments there. Those are your mana levels. Those control, like, enemy power, and your farming system is also affected by it. And so that and the day, which is in the upper left, or upper right there. I got left and right confused, didn't I? So upper left is the progress of the mana tree. Upper right is the day of the week. And there are 6 days. Everybody gets a day except for Wisp and Shade. And that, again, affects how things grow, and it also affects when events can happen, really, because some events only happen on certain days. And again, as a pixel artist myself, I understand good pixel art. I really wish they had made some of these things a little more different. I always loved the humorous little animations for how the world is rebuilt, because that's what you're doing, is you're rebuilding the world after it kind of exploded, sort of ish. And so it is a unique system. You really do build your own experience. Again, I'm going to be doing this as a guide run. So that's so that actually is a reference. Duel being an Onion Quotes Warrior is actually a reference to the Onion Knight class of Final Fantasy III. I don't know why they changed it to Onion Warrior in here. So that's a little interesting, but we're just gonna go... There's room up here. This is Rachel's room. She's not here, she's working at the bar across the way. So Mark and Jennifer actually alternate duties, just manning the shop. This guy here, he's petrified. That'll become important later. We're just going to go ahead and buy some stuff here. And, we're definitely going to buy a shield. Because a sword user can actually use one. Not all weapons can. So that's going to be some cheap and effective defense there. So we're just going to buy some Minos gauntlets as suggested. And just... Oh, and before I forget, I'm going to redo the controls here, because it's going to throw me for a loop if I don't. It really will. Just gonna, there we go. Let me just go ahead and wait, what? Oh, good gravy. Okay, that's gonna be a little bit of a pain. In the original, square actually was used to open the menu, but it also was used for the artifacts, I think, and it looks like I can't actually do both. So that's a little strange. But this is definitely changing, because I actually, looks like it saved from last time, but what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to switch this here, because that'll bring it back to normal here. Before it was really weird because it was like completely reversed from the original game, and I was just like completely getting my butt kicked in my first battle trying to find the attack button. It did not work well. So, let's see here. We'll keep the arranged versions for right now, and that'll be okay. So we're just gonna kinda go around and meet people and pick up some people for our characters encyclopedia. Gotta love this portrait here. Gotta love this clock. Look at just, I mean, there's a little offness when it goes to the facing the screen, the left-hand side. But where you can tell it kind of doesn't quite swing right, like there's a little length change there. But that animation is just great. little snap that it has at the end, at each side, really gives it a lot of... So, those are just things that I notice as it's art. It really is. It's animation. We've got some materials here. We've got some great materials here at the bottom. These are gonna... Unfortunately, when it comes to using materials, you really need a guide. There's just no two ways around it. Oh gosh, I can't get out of the doorway. Stop! Let me out! Bathroom over there. Come on. Come on. Out of there. Okay. Sweet. Okay. Whew! Alright, so we're not going to go into that other area, because that's going to go into the bar. I think. And I don't want to do that yet. This house right here, this abandoned house, has a mailbox, so that's kind of your indication that somebody else can join you as a second player there. Really wish you would see something like that. Got a wonderful fountain, a park area here, some benches, wonderful flowers. And then we've got kind of the outskirts here. You can't enter any of these houses. Pelican over here is the mail carrier. She is said to not be very good at her job, and if you are actually patient and follow her around as she delivers to all of these different houses, you will actually see that she has a whole bunch of different lines that you can see here. I will leave that to anyone who actually wants to do that, because time's sake. We got the town limits here. This is an event area. We'll be coming back there for quite a while. The thing is that, yeah, Pelican, unless there's something going on here, she's going to reset every time you come to this screen, so you're never going to miss something again. You can't enter any of these houses. There's a lot of scenery that is really just scenery in this game, where you can't go in somewhere, or where you can go somewhere, but there's really no point to it. It's really just a level of detail that there's just so much window dressing, really. We've got that, again, you can't go into any of these shoppy-looking places. We're not going to talk to this guy yet. That's Niccolo. This is Mei here. And, no, that is not a mispronunciation of meme. But she actually is a fortune teller and is actually really useful, because if you're ever stuck, just go here. It'll cost you a small amount of money, but she will actually give you direction on where to go or what to do next, really. So it can be very useful to actually do that. We've got Inspector Boyd here. Nothing back here. Oh gosh, I didn't realize that was even walkable. Hold up. Hold that thought. Oh gosh. Ah! Oh gosh, I have been playing this game for years, and I didn't even know that that was walkable there. So, this door doesn't open, that probably supposedly leads there. We've got an organ here. I really hate how abruptly that cuts off. It feels like they didn't time the sound file right somehow. We've got Reverend Nouvelle here. And they actually did redo his dialogue quite a bit, actually, surprisingly enough, to soften up especially that. They, called that the sand cape instead of a mantle, which I think is maybe just because nobody knows what a mantle is anymore. Yeah, no, even simple things with his dialogue has been retranslated. Even this line here was actually something more to the effect of, I have particular knowledge of this list of people. So it's kind of interesting, just the small things that they did to retranslate this and really lengthen certain things, but not necessarily everything, because other things seem to be shortened. It's really weird. Going through that here. So, alright, so we're just gonna go here. We're gonna go grab Niccolo. That animation is a lot faster. Slight differences in his dialogue there. It's funny. I know that all of these differences aren't going to mean much to anyone else, but There are some real differences in this upcoming conversation, too. Okay. So what we're gonna do, we're just gonna go ahead and exit the world map quick here. You can see the mana tree already is sprouted from the seed. We are going to place this here. And I'm doing this from memory from the last one, so I will be looking things up. But you can see as the day has already changed to Jin Day, we're just going to go ahead and go back to the market here. Actually, what we're going to do, we're going to go... I actually looked around for other interactions like this, but just to show this off a little bit. Just a little interesting touch. Oh, hello, I've got a viewer. Okay, so we're just gonna go and head out over here to the market. We're gonna pick up another book here. Oh my gosh, the text is so much better now. This is definitely localized differently. She isn't calling herself Auntie here. Which is kind of a funny thing. It's apparently a Japanese... Oh gosh, bee's knees? Really? Oh gosh. Okay, you know what? They're a family of bugs, I get it. Oh, okay, so now that we've got that, let's get this ball rolling here. Anyway, auntie seems to be like just a Japanese term that they translated more or less directly here, or in the original PS1 release. So I really don't know. It just seems to be like, I don't know, a term for an old woman or something? It's weird. But that's what she called herself in the original. So you can see this is going to be important here. As you place more lands, it's going to affect the mana levels in the lands that are nearby. So just by placing these two here, you can see that we have a couple of aura from Domina here, along with the Salamander. We've got another aura here, and a few others here, and that has really impacted the mana levels at home. So that's going to be huge for when we start growing stuff. Really, home is never going to be the prime place to grow it. There's going to be another garden area that we're going to get a good deal later, really, that is going to have full mana levels. So, but we're just going to head to Luan Highway here, and because this is growing into about an hour, I'm going to say that I'll probably actually do a proper part 2. Got Duel here. Now, if you say right to this, everyone will call you Chumpy, so I'm gonna just say no. And unlike previously, I'm actually kind of interested in what the translation actually did with this. Now that's completely new. I'm glad that I did it this time. This is much better explained here. Hello! Ah. Well, nice to meet you, Patrick. Now that's interesting. I wasn't aware of Master Moves before. This is a much better guide. So Patrick, actually I was talking about this earlier, but I actually have the PS1 version and was playing it recently myself. I have a Ringland guide that I wrote based on the Pocket Station version. Nice. You know, I think that you and I probably would be good people to have on the Mana Wiki. They're trying to get things together for this game, and they unfortunately inherited kind of a mess because it was abandoned by previous management. They could really use some expert help. Oh gosh. Oh. Alright. Hey Patrick, I'm going to actually just kind of go through the next few battles here, and then I'm going to save, quit, and start a new video. Alright, so for everybody else's benefit, all of these crystals flying around and that kind of stuff, those are actually experience. So you've got bags that are your items, crystals that represent your experience, and coins that are your lucre/money. And I really am not used to swords at all. This is going to be a little new for me here. Okay, cool. 3-hit combo.